Welcome to section 3 of the At the Races flat season preview. This time we're looking at Derby, Oaks, older horses and more. Anything that didn't fit into the 1,000 and 2,000 guineas. We'll take a look at early contenders for the Prix de Triomphe as well, and who has been catching the eye of my very special guests, Jason Weaver and Seb Sanders. We were saying before, Jason, this is the time of year where you get excited regards to flat season because you get up and then you just go.
Yeah, and speaking to the trainers, you know, I hark back, and I'm going back a long time now. We thought very early on that Pirate Army was our Derby horse. This is from years ago at Luca Camani's, because he was just the best of the bunch. You know, he had speed, he had stamina, he had everything, and he duly bolted up in the Lingfield Derby trial, and then it never happened for him after that.
He didn't win the Derby trial.
He won at Lingfield.
He might have won the race before, but he got beat by Cacothes, I think, in the Derby trial.
Yeah.
At Lingfield. I know that I rode Pirate Army in America when he went to Miami for John Veach.
Yeah.
What a beast.
Oh, beautiful
What a
horse.
beast.
So I'm saying that the trainers will know their Derby horse, or you should know. He should have shown his head by now.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd be mentioning Miami so quickly into the flat season preview. I just want a quick story from Seb, actually, because I don't know if this has been told, but the Look Here story. We all know that jockeys can sometimes give bad rides and whatever, but Look Here at Lingfield, you weren't too happy with yourself.
No, they went no pace, and I tried to get McGiddy up down the hill, and got caught wide, went back down the inside, and finished second to Miracle Seeker, is it? Or
Yeah.
something like that. Miracle Seeker of Clive Cox's. Shocker. Absolute shocker.
It's a happy ending to the story.
Well, yeah, I was on my hands and knees begging them to run it in the Oaks, and to put me up.
Did it take much convincing to run in the Oaks, or was it a case of she was going to go anyway?
I don't know. I really don't know. But the key to that race was to get her to relax and get her to come down the hill. But we weren't learning a lot the pace they were going down the hill. They were walking down there, and it ended up being a 3-furlong sprint. But she gave me a real good feel. Mm-hmm. And I actually, I went that day thinking I'd win the Oaks.
How did you celebrate afterwards?
I went to Doncaster, rode in the last. About 9 o'clock.
Did it win?
Did you actually go to Doncaster?
Yeah.
That's the most Seb Sanders answer I could have wished for.
Yeah. No.
All right, what did you do after Doncaster? Were you in a bad mood because that one got beat?
Just went home and I don't know.
Got up the next morning, bought the racing post, and went to work.
Who won the Oaks?
Well, it was,
me.
it was on the Friday, the Oaks, so I can't remember who I was riding on the Saturday. I can't remember. It was nice.
Yeah, that's what
It was nice.
It's got a happy ending anyway. That is Seb Sanders, one of his glory days anyway from his riding career. This show, by the way, is brought to you in association with the At The Races app. Make sure you check out the brand new feature, Bet Caller voice activated betting. Just tap the green Bet Caller microphone, hold it down wherever you see it, and then speak your bet, and your bet slip will automatically populate. Let's move on with the Derby, guys. Betting at the moment, the line in winter is currently 7-2. Twain is 8-1. 12-1 ruling court. 12-1 expanded. It's bigger price than the rest. We're still learning on this. We've mentioned a few of these horses so far, Jason, in the 2,000 guineas video that we've also got on the channel. It's a completely different ask, the Derby compared to the guineas, isn't it?
Yeah, the quick rolling nature of the Rolly Mile under quick conditions. Epsom, I suppose if you were to look at an athlete nowadays, and it's got bigger, High Rocks athlete, doing a little bit of everything. That's what Epsom demands, and that's why that piece of wood at the end of 1.5 miles is the extreme test of a thoroughbred, of the athlete, and asks so many questions. Bit of stamina, bit of speed, bit of balance, bit of everything. It's a great test.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about horses that got chances. The Lion in Winter, we didn't really mention in the 2,000 guineas chat because he's a Derby horse. There's been plenty of things said about him, Seb, but we think he might go to the Dante.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Dante is one of the best stepping stones for the Derby. I think it's a good preparation, and the fact that although York is flat, you have to have plenty of speed to win there, and I think that's why the Dante has been a really good test over the years. And it's interesting.
How disappointing we didn't get to see him at the back end. You know, he was vet certificate pulled out on the morning of the race, wasn't he? You know, and as it was, we saw what the shadow could go and do, but it sort of took away from the race. We wanted to see that, didn't we?
For sure. The quote from Aidan O'Brien regards to the Dante says he'll probably be 80 or 90% for the Dante. If that goes well, then we'll see what the lads want to do, but the Derby would probably be the plan. I like the probably in there. That's the plan.
Yeah, that's where he's going. It's disappointing that he's not turning up for the Guineas.
It is. I mean, I feel he could be a bit of a hawkwing in the fact that, you know, he's going to bump into some decent horses along the way, I think. And it's whether he can get his head in front. I mean, you know, and the fact that he's missed a big chunk of last season, there's a question mark.
Well, it's a fascinating one because Aidan O'Brien, he wouldn't normally send his best horses to the Dante, Jason.
No.
He'd send good horses there, but you'd think more Chester, you'd think more to the Guineas itself.
How many See the Stars has Aidan trained?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like, so it's a funny one, but I'm a little bit disappointed he's not turning up. But if he's not ready, and he's obviously more of a staying type, we'll see where he goes later on.
Yeah. First quiz question of the show. Comments down below, please. The last Aidan O'Brien trained horse to win the Dante. I remember Deauville got beat in it because that was devastating for me. He got beat by Wings of Desire. But you got the Dante winner up there?
Right punt on Passenger when he got beaten. Should have won a minute.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
I remember that one.
Me and Jason are just both sad about things. You remember your losers far more than your winners. But Twain we have mentioned regards to the 2000 Guineas. I mean, he could take that route. I mean, that would be, for me, Seb, the preferred Ballydor route towards the Derby.
I think so. I always think that the Guineas is one of the best trials for the Derby. Anyway, you know, because you've got them undulations at Newmarket, and you've got to have speed. You know, when you think of the likes that have gone on from the Guineas to the Derby, they always used to say the fourth in the Guineas is normally the pick, isn't it?
Guineas a great trial for the Derby. Classic form.
Well, you're running against the best horses, aren't you?
Classic form, and you know, also remember a lot of horses that are prepped to their limit for the big day, and then we expect them to go on and improve themselves afterwards. Where a lot of Aidens are setting off and just ready to go, and if they then go and win, that's a big warning sign for everybody.
Absolutely, that's when you know you've got a good horse, i.e. the likes of Camelot a few years back. We then get to a couple of horses that, I mean, could be anything. Delacroix is a horse that really caught the eye of quite a few last year, won the Ballysacks. We need to take the next step, but again, we're saying that about every horse in this.
Used to be whatever Aidan won the Ballysacks with went on to be, you know, leapfrog to the top of the market. How interesting that he should be out there around, I think, varying from 12 to 14 to 1 or even bigger for the Derby itself. He's already won on his return. He's got
14s.
A great pedigree. He's had a tep-in. You know, was a wonderful race mare. The form around him is really, really interesting. You start delving in, you've got a Stanhope Gardens, who's definitely a little bit of a sleeper, you know, one of those who could make up into a real decent mile-and-a-half individual. So he's underestimated, Delacroix.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Seb, any thoughts on him?
Well, yeah, I think he'll stay extremely well. And you definitely need to stay the mile and a half at Epsom. I know everyone says it's a sharp track, but you know, when they get on very early in the Derby and they get on in plenty of time, and you need to stay every yard of the trip. That last 100 yards up that hill, it finds a few of them out.
Yeah, absolutely it does. That's Delacroix, one of the O'Brien runners. Expanded, again, we've sort of spoke about, could this be more a race that suits him, Seb, rather than the likes of a Guineas?
I think he's got to improve a fair bit, but he will stay.
Yeah.
I mean, what about him coming back off he won his maiden and he was expected, and then it was fairly quick after that he turned up and ran a mammoth race, didn't he? I mean, how good could he be?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He went maiden Group 1.
Yeah.
Right? It takes a bit of doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it maybe once every 5 years, that sort of thing, but that's expanded. Next piece of trivia for the Aidan O'Brien team. Aidan O'Brien's covered 3 in a row in the Derby. Can you name, or this is for the second time, who were the horses he achieved the feat with previously? 3 Derbies in a row is crazy, isn't it? It's just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Mm.
But
You can see the steam coming off their heads.
But
there.
we know, how good is he at this particular point?
Without
you know, doubt. Yeah. And listen, we talked about the Sea the Stars angle. He's got a boatload of Wootton Bassett in there this time around coming in, hasn't he? Could be anything.
Yeah, Wootton Bassett is a sire that's really, really taking off. Of the rest, Ruling Court, Seb, was a horse that you couldn't wait to talk about regards to a Derby. This is probably more his bag than a Guineas.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, probably, but the Guineas will bring him forward a ton. He's got plenty of speed. And, you know, a lot of the time the Derby's decided by where you're drawn. One thing you don't want to be drawn is down low if there's a lot of runners. You want to be high because the race runs round to the right to begin with, and you'll get your best cover and the best chance to relax. When you're drawn low, you can be left out on a wing and get daylight early, and it can just set them alight a bit. So, you know, me personally, when I was at Epsom, I prefer to be drawn, you know, middle to high over the mile and a half. But he's a horse that I think will relish going around there.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's great. This is what I love, the chat about what's the possibility of these horses going forward, because I can't, you know, like if Ruling Court stays a mile and a half, I elevate him so high in the great horses that I've been lucky enough to watch out there.
Yeah.
So the further he goes, the better the better I have to rate him, because I really think he's not short of speed. I know he's Justify, High Chaparral mare. The page screams at you that he's going to stay, but Elvis had a brother and he couldn't sing a tune. That's my favourite one, isn't it? You know, I just think he's fast.
I had a taxi one day with Marcus de Gunning, and I was talking to him about the Derby and Sir Percy and everything else, and he said something that really stuck in me. He said a horse will stay a trip once. You know, and he was convinced that Sir Percy had won the Derby because he stayed that trip once. So, yeah. I mean, New Approach, when he ran in the Derby, I've never seen anything pull like him in the Derby and win.
Well, he wasn't meant to run, was he? The whole sort of 2 weeks building up, he wasn't going there. Yeah. Then he suddenly was, and then suddenly he managed to win. Anything else for the Derby you want to throw out there, or that could be a Derby horse?
Yeah, I mentioned him a little bit earlier. Stanhope Gardens, who ran really well at Newmarket. It's an interesting route, isn't it? He looked good when he won. Believe this or not, he won at Beverley. And then he came to Newmarket and ran well, but just the type that Beckett could get to step forward, and there's no questioning that Beckett is getting better and better every time you see him. You know, some trainers take a little while to warm up, but he's been a class act for a good while and getting better.
Absolutely. Potentially he might come into this race after winning a classic already, because he's got one or two hopes earlier on in the year. I'm going to put Acapulco Bay in the hat. He's about 66 to 1 at the moment. He might not even be a Derby horse, but he ran behind one of Aidan O'Brien's stablemate last time, who came out and was second in the classic trial at Epsom. I thought was quite unlucky on that occasion as well, but the faster the ground, the better for Acapulco Bay. On the reappearance, I think it was over at Nace, ran in desperate ground and was just like, honestly, he was running in treacle. The faster the ground, the better, which normally for this race, Seb, that would be a positive.
Yeah, I mean, in general, in Epsom, you want it on the quicker side, on the track. But I remember back in the day, the Saturday was always wet. You know, it used to be the Oaks on the Saturday and the Derby on the Wednesday, and the Derby's always ran on quick ground, and the Oaks a lot of the time it had rained at the back end of the week.
Yeah.
So let's hope that the ground is good or quicker.
They're always aiming to make decent ground now, aren't they? That's the key, isn't it? You know what I mean? We just don't want it to be in the lap of the gods. No. And with flat racing, it's not 3 mile chasing. We want good, quick conditions.
Yeah. Well, I remember the year Enable won the race. There was a thunderstorm just before the off, and that was the year the American horse for, I think, Kenny McPeak unseated Olivier Pellier going down to the start. It was chaos, but Enable was very good regards to that year. And speaking of Enable, we'll move on to the Oaks. We'll talk about the classic fillies. In fact, actually, Derby pick for this stage. Which way would you be looking right now? I know we're a fair way out.
Yeah, I'll throw a wild one. Stanhope Gardens at a huge price for now, only because we've got to see what's going forward and everything. The horse that we all need to sit up and take notice of is Expanded. If you want one towards the top end of the market.
Seb?
I'm sticking with Twain. I think he can do the Guineas and Derby double.
Yeah, I will go for Glory. I'll go for Acapulco Bay. But, like I say, it might be a different race further down the line, but I think this horse is very, very good. Moving on to the Oaks, we'll talk about the fillies. Oaks betting at the moment, it's wide open stuff. Desert Flower is 8-1, albeit that could change after the Guineas just this weekend. 9-1 for Lake Victoria. Dreamies 20-1, 20s Ballet Slippers and also Alabaya. It is 25-1 and bigger the rest. So you can see the gulf, Seb, in class from the top two down to the rest of them. You got 11 points separate the second and the third in the market, and Desert Flower and Lake Victoria, they could be the real stars in this division.
Yeah, like I'm if you ask me which one I want to jump on here, it would be Desert Flower. I think she'll stay the trip well, and I think as the season goes on, she'll get better and better. We've already spoke about her in the Guineas, but I think she'll shine in the Oaks. Yeah,
she's currently as a 8-1. Was she a horse, Jason, last year that you were thinking could turn into an Oaks filly in Desert Flower?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like we were just mentioning about the 1000, and just the way that she races and the way she goes about it, I've got her down as a stayer going forward. Obviously she's incredibly, unbeaten, top level winner. I'm not doing her down at all. I just have it in the back of my mind that as the season progresses, the further they go, the better is going to be with her.
Do you think there's a possibility she could do a salsa, Bill? Guineas, Oaks, Ledger?
I don't know.
Been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. You need something exceptional. She could be that. She could be that type to go forward. I just have her down as a 10-12 furlong filly. That's what I've got her down as.
Yeah,
that's why I think the evens about the 1000 worries me.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards 10 at the moment rather than a mile and a half. And also Epsom could be an issue. I mean, the Appleby quote we read out for the 1000 Guineas. She's a big filly, takes a bit of time to sort herself. That's not ideal for Epsom, Seb.
Look, when she won the Fillies Mile last year, she was really well balanced into the dip. I know she did hang a little bit out to the right when asked a question, but that wasn't the dip. I mean, that was as she was meeting the ground. So I have no doubt if you can travel at Epsom, you'll handle the track, and this will travel.
Yeah, absolutely. She'll travel better than anything else you would think in the form of Desert Flower. Aidan O'Brien will be standing in her way though, Jason. He will have likely a few horses in here. Lake Victoria, we mentioned Trip.
Couldn't get a mile and a half in horse box, could it?
I have my concerns. I mean,
couldn't get a mile and a half in horse box. I don't think so.
No, I think she'll be turning up at Royal Ascot and running in the Coronation.
She's fast.
Yeah,
she's fast, and that pedigree screams it. Obviously the thing with her. Being one of the girls, it wouldn't be beyond the realms that Aidan would run her anyway. If he feels that that one out opportunity to go and win over a wide range of distances, but I just can't have her stamina.
No, I think part of it, Seb, might depend on who else goes for the Aidan O'Brien team, because they're going to have so many more that could potentially fill in.
So many more. I mean, as I say, the fillies category last year was extremely strong. And you're just trying to guess at which one are going to train on best. Is it going to be the top of the pile that were there last year, who don't have to improve that much, or is something going to rise up through the ranks?
Isn't it great? Especially with the girls, you've got the Oaks, you have the Derby. It sort of has that one-sided look to it. You're having to delve in, and you're going, I'll give this 33-1 shot a shout. You've got them two fillies at the top. All right, the boys in blue may well end up holding the trump card there. But there are a whole host further down, big price fillies that have had one run, for a Beckett, for an Owen Burrows, for all that type of squad, that is where, if you haven't got that Derby horse, right, you can lean towards the Oaks, and that's where you're looking.
Absolutely. I mean, as well for the 3-year-old fillies, they've got a long year ahead of them. The Arc is going to be target for quite a few of these, so there's a lot of racing to be done. Other Aidan O'Brien horses, you've got Ballet Slippers in here. She's out of Magical, so nicely bred. Dreamy is also very nicely bred. Tapestry, she was top class a few years ago.
Can you remember, Magical, was one of those super tough race mare that just went and went,
Yeah.
And that's the way that Aidan will campaign the girls, and it's great to see.
Yeah. Ballet Slippers, anything from you, Seb?
It's just got to improve a fair bit, but it's got a winter on its back, and will improve a fair bit. I'd like to see her in a trial.
Yeah, we will at some point, but that'll be a bit further down the line. Of others, I mean, we've mentioned Race Beckett plenty. Smokin is in here, currently about 25-1. She has been pinpointed for the Musadora, Seb, which is an early shout.
It is an early shout, but we are guessing a bit, and she has to improve on what she's shown last year.
When you're going down her she's too darn hot, isn't she?
Yeah.
I think, did he just win the sire title in Australia or something ridiculous? One of his sons, or I don't know what it was. Anyway, he's he's been done brilliant in the stallion shed. I don't know, question mark stamina.
I'm going to say early selections, but this is very harsh because this is an impossible race. But who are you most excited about so far in this division?
It's funny, I can't have Desert Flower for the 1000, but my eyes tell me she's much more an Oaks filly than she is a miler.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like that's 3 for Desert Flower.
Oh dear, I put hanging off its tail.
Oh, Charlie Appleby, I'm so sorry. You've got no chance. Don't go here. That's Desert Flower for the Oaks. The Prix de Triomphe could be something on the agenda for Desert Flower later on in the season. I mean, 3-year-old fillies, Seb, it's not often a bad route to take regards to the Arc.
No, it's not. They get all the weight allowances, but they're entitled to it. But yeah, I mean, it's a good target. I mean, when you look at the likes of Enable, who really, and Trev, that really sort of set that route for the fillies up anyway.
It was funny, when Enable was going for the record, or going again, and there were all these banners, and they were probably about that size, and they had a lovely picture of her and all that. And then when she got beat, and they were all just scattered around the floor at Longchamp, people were walking all over them and everything. It was a real Who Shot Bambi moment at Longchamp on that occasion. It was one of those.
It was interesting, when you were watching it, everyone was drained because they had a ton to say about Enable if she won the Arc, and of course she did win the Arc.
It happens, and that can
you put the pin in it and suddenly that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, the back end, with all them, and you got horses like, for argument's sake, she's got a lot of running to do before then. Kalpana, who was, what an improver she was. Didn't she win at the Craven meeting last year off a stupid rating, 80 something or whatever, and then just went and got better and better. So if Andrew Balding's going to be champion trainer, she's got to be winning 3 or 4 Group 1s coming along the year, and then going over to Paris to see what she can do.
Well, you mentioned Kalpana. It's a good moving on point, because Kalpana's currently favourite a long way out for the Prix de Triomphe. 14-1, 16-1 Aventure, Sozi at 16, Zaragana is 25-1 alongside the line in winter, Danon de Seal and Map of Stars, 33s and bigger the rest. I think softer ground, Seb, would help Kalpana, but normally that time of year in Paris, it is softer.
It is softer. We know she handles the ground. I mean, I have actually penciled in, she could possibly be another blue stocking. In the fact that she'll probably go the similar sort of route, i.e., the race in Ireland. What's the race in Ireland that she won blue stocking? Beat the horse of John Gosden's.
Pretty Polly.
Pretty Polly, yeah. She'll probably go a similar sort of route, but she handles the soft ground and she stays extremely well. So. Would I be backing her to win an Arc at the moment? No, not at the moment.
We'd have the Japanese coming over. You got Sosi, who managed to win recently on return, and obviously Andre said about possibility coming over to Ascot. So that's a wide open sort of look. I suppose the Lion in Winter, given his pedigree. And the sire going round there on the bridle underneath Mickey Joe all them years ago could be a strong possibility. And there's horses that we haven't even mentioned because we don't know how they are, or economics. Where's he? What's he doing? Is he going to be back? Where's he going?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the most interesting horse in the race is one we haven't mentioned yet in Zaragana. I mean, she looked brilliant on her comeback, and then suddenly she hung about in front at a touch the other day. She's going to go for the French Guineas, I think, Jason. But, I mean, Connections have said they don't want to step her up in trip yet.
No, and they're... Isn't it good, when you got the trials and her return the other day, it was pretty ominous, wasn't it? Not going to win, not going to win. And then from about 3 parts of a furlong down, you went, there's only one outcome here. The way that she's opened up to win. So, and that whole bloodline goes all the way back to the Superstars.
Why are they complicating a very good filly? It wasn't complicated last year when she won. And they managed to get her beaten to Marcel Bouzat by trying to be clever, and they're still trying to be clever. Just let the filly run.
I'll throw one in the arc at a huge price as well. You got Kyprios, a possibility of him coming back down in trip. Now, were it to turn up, it's a weather watch.
Yeah, for sure.
But where he will be aimed. Obviously, he's going to go back and try and win another Gold Cup.
Yeah. He's 33 at the moment.
Yeah, and that he's the type who, can you see him winning? No. Can you see him hitting the board at a huge price because he's forgotten about? He'll be forgotten about in the market.
Yeah, he's the horse you're not meant to be here. But stayers, they do go okay in arcs. We've seen that in recent years. That's a look at the arc going forward. But I say it's more the division rather than anything else. We've got the real tough work now, guys, because we've both nominated 4 horses for the season to go forward with. We've gone Classic Star, Royal Ascot, Older Horse, and Handicapper. Who wants to go first to get a whooping?
Go on, Seb.
I'll go. I've gone Twain. I think he's got a real decent
Classic Star.
Classic Star. I think he's got a real good chance in the 2,000 Guineas and the Derby. I think he's got a bit of class about him, and was a bit of an unknown quantity last year. Royal Ascot, I've gone Iberian of Charlie Hills. I thought was a tad unlucky at Doncaster first time out. I think he'll step forward, and I think he's looking good for one of the sprints at Ascot. Older Horse, Clandagan. Yeah. He finished second in the Shima Classic and second in the Juddmonte last year, and I'm sure he's going to put his head in front in a Group 1 this year.
Yeah.
Handicapper, most recently won Maelstrom. You was at Yarmouth when that won.
Yeah.
Backed that win up at Haydock at the weekend. I'm hoping they'll give it a little bit of a rest, because I don't think the handicap is going to be very pleasant to it, because the third horse was a mile back. I think that is a horse that's on the upgrade, big time.
Yeah, there's the 4 for Seb.
What order did you go in? Does it matter?
You have no idea what order you went in.
I went Classic, Royal, Older Horse, Handicapper.
That's exactly how it's written down on here, by the way.
So Classic, going to go Ruling Court. Hope he can get us off to a flyer in the 2000. And just the fact that William Buick has said it's pretty tough to choose gives me optimism that he's working well coming into the contest. And I think I was so impressed with his win. It was the Dubai 2000. All right, we know it wasn't great, but he couldn't have been any better. It came home in a quick time. So I like him. Royal Ascot.
Yep.
Next, Storm Boy is an unknown quantity for Aidan O'Brien. He was a pretty good sprinter in Australia. He ran in the Everest. He wasn't beaten that far. He was a 3-year-old. I think that he'll come over. I'm sure they did a similar sort of thing with an Aussie sprinter. Merchant Navy, I think he was called, came over and won at Royal Ascot. So he's going to go to the Greenlands, which is Irish 2,000 Guineas weekend over at the Curragh as a prep, and hopefully he'll be ready for Royal Ascot. Older Horse is going to be Giavolotto.
Yep.
For Marco. I don't think Marco Botti's had the credit yet of what a difficult horse to train he has been. From a Ledger campaign to coming back down and proving himself over a mile and a half in top quality conditions. He won over in Hong Kong. He was unlucky, I think. Not unlucky as in should he have won. Just the way the race was run, he could have finished a good bit closer than where he did over in Dubai. So I think he's an exciting horse going forward and will be underestimated if he turns up in a Coronation, a King George. I think that's going to be some sort of targets for him. And an unknown handicapper. I went through all Sir Mark Prescott's 3 runs and where are they sitting in the handicap and how they were handled. And I came up with a little horse called Westcombe. He's by Gayarth. Gayarth is a sire who I think is going to have a brilliant campaign this time around. They're winning left, right and centre. No show on debut. Too Keen second time out. Kid Gloves third time out. And he will be stepping up in trip under the sniper Luke Morris and rattling up a hat-trick, I hope.
Hope. Hope. That is Jason's 4. I'm going to chime in with my 4. Classic Star. I've gone for Chantilly Lace, who hopefully will win the 1,000 guineas. I think even if she doesn't, though, she's a horse for the entirety of the season. I think she's going to have a really productive year for the Wraith Beckett yard. There's been good vibes from what we've heard from the Beckett team regards to her. Royal Ascot. I've gone for Acapulco Bay, who I did mention in regards to the Derby. I think he could be the sort of horse that would go well in a Hampton Court, but like I say, the better ground for him, the better we'll see of him as well. Aidan O'Brien, he wouldn't be top of the pecking order at the moment, but I think he can rise up there. Older horse, I've gone for Mount Atlas, who I think could be a pretty interesting horse this season for the Andrew Balding and Kingsclear Racing Club. Ran at Kempton on his reappearance. He tanked throughout the race, hit the front too soon, and he was passed by 3 of them. Two Messias, Fox managed to win. But you go back to last year, ran a real key race at Newmarket when finishing back in second in the Old Rowley Cup. That was behind Sun God, who has gone down to Australia subsequently, and I think he's a horse that's primed to win a big race. And for the handicapper, I've gone for Tribal Chief, who, for David Menuisier, everything went wrong for him at Newmarket on his reappearance. Drawn far side, was slow coming out of the stalls, hated every second of running at Newmarket, but he flew home and finished second. The winner was away and gone. I do think Tribal Chief is up to winning a nice handicap this year, and he's well handicapped. He's that sort of type that could get into a few nice races, maybe a Hunt Cup or something along those lines. But they're my 4. There's Jason's 4 and also Seb's 4.
Good training in Menuisier, isn't he?
Very good. He's getting a better calibre of horse through as well. Sunway, last year. I think Sunway will win a big one this year.
Yeah, he turned into a bit of a non-winner for me, didn't he? I thought he'd win at Newbury, but he didn't. But there we go.
Yeah.
We can forgive him that, I suppose. We can forgive him that.
Turn into a non-winner.
Anytime Newbury, from the start of the season's board up, Seb is like, no, we can't trust it. We can't trust it.
No, I think at Newbury he had his opportunity to go ahead and win, and it just didn't. It just didn't. It was a bit disappointing at Newbury, I must admit.
Chance for Glory. Anything else that you want to mention for the flat season?
I've already mentioned that I think that some young jockeys coming through. Lewis Edmonds, I'm a big fan. I think he's a really, really talented rider, along with George Wood. I thought I think he's grown up a lot mentally. His riding's always been great, but I think he's grown up and realising that he has to do a bit more to promote himself. But 2 really, really talented lads.
Yeah, you were mentioning Callum Rodriguez earlier on, Seb, as well.
Yeah, I think Callum ticks a lot of boxes. He's a very balanced rider, and I don't see it very often. And he's getting big opportunities off some real decent stables.
And got his weight under control. I had a chat with him this year, and he said, feels so much better, than rather than dragging 5 and 6 off every day. He's turning up in a better frame of mind.
Yeah.
Champion jockey this year? It's a horrible question because we don't know who's actually going for it. But William Buick, he'd have to be in the running order once again if he gets the early ones.
I tend to think Ross has got a big shout this year.
Do you?
Yeah. I tend to think he's got a big shout.
It could be that Billy has a go. He's going to have plenty of rides, and he's going to be going to every meeting he possibly could, Billy Loughnane.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a shock if he got a ton of winners.
Oisin Murphy, because he turns up and he gets so many quality rides at the big meetings and has a big reach.
Yeah. There's plenty of names that you can throw into the hat. Before we go, I know you're itching for it. The 2 quiz questions from earlier
Come on, yes, come on.
Right, last Aidan O'Brien horse to win the Dante.
Go on.
This is hard, by the way. Cape Blanco.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That's a while back, isn't it? Albeit, like we say, he wouldn't necessarily send his best horses to the
such
Dante.
an anorak. Didn't he win a brilliant race in America under an inspired Jamie Spencer?
Arlington Million, maybe.
Something like that.
Off the back of that, he won like the turf horse, or best turf horse of the year in America.
Get me Micah Gould.
Yeah, exactly. No, I remember it. That was 2010. Aidan O'Brien's previous back-to-back-to-back Derby winners, because he's going for 3 this year. What was the last time he won 3 on the bounce?
Was it ruler of the world
That's the middle one.
is the middle one.
Has to be
That's
Camelot,
not what
then.
Jason wanted to.
Right.
Camelot.
That's the first one.
Camelot, ruler of the world, and go on.
Australia.
Australia.
Yeah.
Australia.
2012, 2013, 2014.
Joseph, Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's going for it again this year, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going for the third straight Derby win. That is the At the Races flat season preview. Jason, Seb, thank you very much for your time. We'll readdress this at the end of the year. See how
Yeah,
well
we've
we
got to mark them scores down, haven't we? Absolutely. Perfect.
Point for Seb, point for Jason, none for Luke. But that's all for us. Thank you very much for watching. We've got 2 other videos looking at the 1,000 guineas and the 2,000 guineas on the channel right now. You can go watch them. Thank you very much for watching.